Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 24 driver career mode with myself driving for RB in our second season as an F1 driver. And if you did miss the last episode, it was a Max Verstappen win for the US Grand Prix, and with that win he also claimed the World Drivers' Championship, his fourth world title. Norris will take P2 on the podium and his title defense comes to an end with Sergio Perez also up on the podium. Myself, it was a hard four. P9 in the end. We were struggling quite a bit for pace around Kota. Verstappen now has an unbeatable lead in the Drivers' Championship as we head into the final two rounds of the season. Norris still sits in P2. Leclerc still in a championship battle in third, 15 points clear of Alonso, and myself. We're down in P5. We're only 1 point behind Alonso. Ricciardo's in P15 on equal points with Pierre Gasly, and Red Bull lead the Constructors' Championship by 94 points to McLaren. Ferrari sit third, and RB we're in P6, 15 points behind Aston Martin. And we'll head straight to the durability department where we'll find the ultimate electrical systems upgrade, and we'll be done with a standard development with a 0% failure rate, and will come in before the final race of the season. Hopefully we can get ourselves a good result in Abu Dhabi for that one, and this will upgrade will also pretty much put us on level grounds with Sauber for the best durability out of the rest of the field. And we'll take a look at the R&D now. So Red Bull still the fastest car, which they have been all season long, and it is now very close at the top between Aston Martin, McLaren, RB and Sauber as we all bring upgrades this weekend. The bottom five is also tightening up with Ferrari, Mercedes and Alpine all bringing upgrades, with Haas now passing Williams, who are now the slowest car in the field, as we head straight to sprint qualifying.
It's a Saturday showdown. Anyone fancy some hot laps around Interlagos? It's qualifying day here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Sao Paulo is definitely a fan favourite when it comes to Formula 1 racing, and it is absolutely a driver's favourite as well when it comes to qualifying. It's a very satisfying circuit to get a good hot lap done correctly. As we now come to the end of our first flying lap here, we will go P4, only a tenth behind Oscar Piastri, and we will come around for a second lap here on the medium tyres, remember, because it is a sprint race qualifying there, and we'll go P9, and that'll be our 2 laps on that medium tyre done. Verstappen, who goes fastest in SQ1 by 2 tenths to Charles Leclerc. Then it's Yuki Tsunoda in third, 2 tenths behind. Myself in P10, we're 6 behind, and then it's Daniel Ricciardo in P13, 7 tenths behind. And knocked out in SQ1, it's Logan Sargent, Nico Hulkenberg, Esteban Ocon. Shock to see Fernando Alonso down the order, and Zhou Guan Yu also failing to not make it. And once again, we're on the mediums once again, and this time we go P8 in our first flying lap here, and we'll come through for one more flying lap in this session. And this lap will actually put us all the way up to P4, which is a very good lap from ourselves. Verstappen is fastest in SQ2 by a tenth to Lando Norris, then Stroll in third, myself in P4. Knocked out in SQ2 though, it is our teammate Daniel Ricciardo by only 4 hundredths to Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, and then it is Carlos Sainz as he continues to struggle. A shocker for Oscar Piastri, and then it's Alex Albon in P15, and then with our final session here in sprint qualifying, we are on the soft compound tyre now. Our first lap puts us to P8, and we've dropped down to P9, and now that is an absolute moment. I reckon what's happened there is I've touched the grass on the entry, and yeah, I reckon it is by a minuscule amount that tyre was over onto the grass, and that has just looped around. So we've done very well there to keep it out of the wall, but unfortunately that means we take no further part in qualifying, as we've now just absolutely destroyed those tyres. And it is George Russell on sprint pole by 500 to Sergio Perez, Gasly in third, and myself in P9 in the end, and it's a very shaken up top 10.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Gasly, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Bottas, Leclerc, Norris, Stroll, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Lightning, and Zhou Guan Yu. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
I know you're gutted to be starting from here, but just focus on putting that and some other cars behind you. Good luck.
So as you may have seen, we have taken a penalty for some engine components that we've had to take to pretty much just make sure we get to the end of this race weekend. Everything coming to the end of the season is quite worn, and for this race will be on the soft compound tyres for the 12 laps of sprint racing here in Sao Paulo, and we're off for the sprint race, and it is a pretty good start compared to everyone else. Ocon in front of us has kind of boxed us in because we've got nowhere to go with Zhou, but we send it down the inside and we make up a heap of positions. This has got to be one of my best first corners that I've had all season, making up that many positions as the field just kind of bunched up a bit, and we'll continue this good form going down now into turn 4. We've escaped the center S, and we're now going down the inside of Oscar Piastri. A very late move, but we'll get it done, and we can set our sights now on Alex Albon. But Piastri's not making this very easy. He still continues to go side by side. We're trying not to make the same mistake as we did in sprint qualifying, and now we can look to try and get past Albon, and we do, as well as Hamilton sending it down the inside as the field bunches up a bit, not trying to take any damage though. But Hamilton on the inside line is going to get the better run, but surely we can send it down the inside once again, and we do. This is one of my favourite overtaking opportunities on the circuit. It's a very satisfying place to get a move done here, and that puts us now all the way up to P12 straight away on this first opening lap. And you can see that Mark, that was okay. What do you mean that was only okay? Mate, I'm up like 7 positions already, and we haven't even crossed the start line lap. George Russell continues to lead the Grand Prix as he sets the fastest lap on the opening lap. We're now being re-overtaken by Lewis Hamilton, but we're going to try and flick it down the inside once again. We don't want to get stuck behind this Ferrari, which we spoke about when we were looking at the field's R&D performance, and that Ferrari is dropped down now into the bottom 5, as in front of us it is Yuki Tsunoda. He's looking to try and get himself ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas going into turn 4, and he gets the move done, and that puts him now up into 4th position. Bottas down to 5th. Gasly, though, he is looking very racy at the moment, and he looks to the inside at turn 1 of George Russell. They're 3 wide for the lead of the sprint race. Gasly, he takes the lead, but Verstappen, he's trying to take second place now away from Russell. He can't do it, though. Russell will hold on to P2 just for now. Bottas, though, is back in front of Yuki Tsunoda. It is all kicked off here in Sao Paulo, and now in the background there, that's Sergio Perez looking to try and get himself by Yuki Tsunoda as well, and he will split the Saubers now. So Perez up into P5, Yuki Tsunoda from P4 now down to P6, and ourselves, we are sending it down the inside of Carlos Sainz. This is for P11, so we're close to the points at the moment. We have to get to 8th to get any points here today in this sprint race, but we are trying to get ourselves past Carlos Sainz here. That Mercedes is actually looking really good around this circuit, considering it is, again, just like the Ferrari on the R&D, it is not looking like a very pretty car, and we're battling here for P11, using a bit of DRS here. Carlos in front of us, he's saving battery, so we swing it to the outside. We're looking to the outside now of the Spaniard, and can we now flick it down the inside? We do get the move done, and that's us now up into P11, and surely now we can try and pull away from him, but unfortunately, that is not going to be the case. He will use the DRS. He'll get himself back by us. And hopefully now we can kind of like do a little bit of DRS swapping here and try and get ourselves back within a second of Stroll, who currently sits inside the top 10 and that battle pack to try and get ourselves some points. We'll use the DRS once again, but this time the rate of speed that we've got against him. So we send it down the inside, a little bit of wheel banging, and that is us now back up to P11. If we're going to do this, we're of course going to be losing time, but I just couldn't let an opportunity like that go when we had so much momentum against Carlos Sainz there. But we run wide now going up the hill, and he uses that as an invitation to go back up the inside of us, and he'll now have to go around the outside, but we're going to keep it there, and we'll try and flick it back to the inside. We can't get it done, and so we'll have to sit behind Carlos just for now, but make sure that Lewis Hamilton doesn't get by us. And Carlos has now been able to drive off into the distance just a little bit. We're still within DRS, but that Ferrari straight line speed is so good. Hamilton, though, makes a mistake. He locks up, and we've hit him, and we've lost our end plate on the right-hand side of the front wing, and that is going to be detrimental to this rest of this sprint race now, because that is going to be us losing a lot of downforce around what is generally a little bit of a downforce-heavy circuit. While all of that was happening, though, George Russell takes the lead away back from Pierre Gasly with a pretty good move there going through the center S, but the move is not done yet as Max Verstappen uses a DRS and the slow momentum from Pierre Gasly, and he'll take it down the inside at turn 4 and puts himself now up into P2 for him to try and chase down George Russell for the win. But now with this front wing damage, you can see that we're really struggling when it comes to this middle part of the circuit. I've just got no turning power and run wide up the hill, outbrake myself, and that allows Alex Albon to go through. And here is Max Verstappen. He's now looking for the lead. He swings it to the outside, and he gets closed, but he goes to the inside, and he'll try and take the lead away here. He has to go around the outside, but it will give him the inside for turn 3 and the exit of the center S, and that is him now into the lead of the Brazilian sprint race here, and back on board with ourselves here. We're losing positions at a very large rate of knots now. I have kind of conceded, and I am waving my white flag. I am on dying soft compound tires. They're wearing out extra fast with the front wing damage. I wasn't going to be scoring points. The points were starting to drive way too fast, so I've just kind of conceded. I'm just going to try and bring it home, complete all the laps. But Sergio Perez, he's got other plans. He doesn't have a broken front wing, so he's going for a move here on Valtteri Bottas to try and take P4 away, and he will take the 4th position away from Bottas there, and we're going to just continue losing more positions. This time we go 3 wide briefly as Ocon and Zhou are battling it out, and they go very slow to the point that I'm pushing Zhou through the corner, so there are some areas where I've got the pace, but Max Verstappen, he'll come home for the win here on the sprint race. George Russell and Gasly round out the sprint podium, and we'll bring it home for a very, very disappointing P18 considering the absolutely wicked start we had to this race. And it is going to be, once I said Max Verstappen, George Russell and Pierre Gasly on the sprint podium, the rest of the top 8 was Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, Yuki Tsunoda, Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. Ricciardo in P9 just missing out on a point here today, and myself in P18 after getting that damage in my battle with Lewis Hamilton.
It's a Saturday showdown. Anyone fancy some hot laps around Interlagos? It's qualifying day here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
And what's the difference between a sprint qualifying and a main Grand Prix qualifying? We get to run the soft compound tyre for all 3 parts of today's qualifying session, and we'll go straight out in Q1 with the soft compound tyres, a brand new set of tyres here, and we'll go 6th fastest on our first flying lap here, and we will go again for another flying lap after a charge lap, and that'll put us into P12, so I'm not too comfortable with that, and considering we could drop down a bit. As you can see, we're now P15, we're coming up to the back of a Haas here. It's Nico Hulkenberg, and he's right on the racing line, and we've had to take evasive manoeuvres there to essentially not have a horrific rear-ending crash, essentially, and that was our lap done, but luckily we've done enough to just make it through. It was Lando Norris fastest to Valtteri Bottas and Piastri in 3rd, Ricciardo 9th, myself P15 in the end, and knocked out in qualifying 1 was both Alpines, Logan Sargent and the 2 Hasses not making it through into this next part of qualifying. And once again, we'll go for another lap though, and this time we're on a set of worn tyres since we didn't get to do a full lap in the last lot, and it wasn't a great lap. And now this time, so close to hitting the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton through there, but we have made it work. We're on a fresh set of tyres, and we come to the line, and is it going to be good enough to make it into Q3? It is not. It is a P13. It's 13th after that, and I could put a blame there on Lewis Hamilton, but I think, actually, no, take a look at this. I have missed out on Q3 by only a single 100th, and I am P13. And so the margins here today are extremely close.
Welcome along then to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the very final corner. And just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We're racing today then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7-mile circuit and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out Sector 3. That gives us our best passing opportunity down into Turn 1. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Tsunoda, Russell, Ricciardo, Stroll, Albon, Perez, Lightning, Bottas, Sainz, Ocon, Gasly, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Joe, and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say, they've got the better of them more often than not. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Okay, see if you can gain some early positions on the first lap. This is going to help us get another points finish.
Alrighty, hopefully today's Grand Prix goes a bit smoother than what the sprint race did. Hopefully we can make it to the end without any damage. For the strategy though, we will be going for the medium to the hard compound tyres, but we're actually going to bring that medium stop down a couple of laps to try and see if we can't pull off any sort of undercut to try and make a few extra positions. And it is going to be lights out. It's a very long hold. It's now lights out, and we're off for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we have got a bit of a alright start there. Not as bad as Stroll, though, as we'll now go down the inside of the Aston Martin driver and swing it around his outside, give him a little bit of a pinch there on the apex of turn 2, and now we tuck into the slipstream behind Alex Albon, and we will dump a little bit of the battery coming down the straight into turn 4. Up ahead, there's a lot of weaving around as people try and find their own little piece of real estate here, and we'll make a little bit of contact there with Valtteri Bottas, but we'll squeeze him out so then it's a single file coming up through the hill here. It's usually not very good to go side by side, and we'll swing it down the inside. I think about going to the inside of Sergio Perez as well, but I think better of it with a little bit of a pinch of the brake as well. And a wing just went flying past my halo there, the end plate there. I'm hoping it's from Alex Albon. I'm hoping it's not from us. I don't have any warnings coming up on my end to say that I've got damage as we go down the inside now of Sergio Perez, and that's for P9 on the road, and we can try and chase down Oscar Piastri now on these fresh and medium compound tyres. But to the front of the pack now, it is Max Verstappen. He's got the win in the sprint race, and now he's looking for the lead here in the Grand Prix, down the inside of Lando Norris to the outside, back to the inside, and is he going to be able to make this move stick? And it looks like he will, and he'll take the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix as we now go back to ourselves, and we've got our first objective here, and it is to overtake Daniel Ricciardo, who's currently in P7, so he's 9/10 up the road, so we have to get through Piastri before we can try and overtake our teammate here, and that is going to be a tall order in only a few laps, but I'm sure we can get it done as we now look to the inside of Oscar Piastri. A very late move, and pushing the grip extremities of these medium tyres to get the car slowed down and turned in to that corner there to get ourselves ahead of Oscar. But we can now move our focus to Daniel Ricciardo, our teammate, and try and get this objective completed as Charles Leclerc. He now wants to get himself up onto the podium. He'll go to the inside of Fernando Alonso, just as Max Verstappen did to Lando Norris, and he'll swing it around the outside, and that is him now up onto a provisional podium at the moment. But Alonso, he is not wanting to wait around, so he'll now go to the inside of Charles Leclerc, and he'll try and take this provisional podium away. I say provisional as it is only lap 10 of 36 so far, and they are still fighting it out for this podium. Leclerc, though, he could find himself a little bit vulnerable here to the Sauber of Yuki Tsunoda. He goes to the inside. Leclerc, he covers it, but it's no effort to Tsunoda's attack, and Tsunoda will take 4th place away from the Ferrari there. And now, on board with ourselves, we haven't been able to catch up to Ricciardo. We got right up to the back of him a couple of times, but unfortunately it was just the wrong part of the circuit to be able to try and make a move on our teammate, and I don't really want to try and make an audacious move and accidentally take him out of the race to get this objective done. But we'll take a break here and we'll have a look at the order after the opening 10 laps of the Grand Prix. Verstappen leads from Lando Norris and Alonso on the podium. Then it's Yuki Tsunoda, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and then it's the 2 RBs of Daniel Ricciardo leading myself in P7, P8, and then it is Oscar Piastri, Sergio Perez rounding out the points as Piastri there had a little bit of a battle there with myself trying to look around my outside. Then it's Valtteri Bottas, Lance Stroll, the two Alpines of Ocon, and then Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz, Nico Hulkenberg, Lewis Hamilton all the way down in P17. He's really struggling so far this Grand Prix. Logan Sargent, Zhou Guan Yu, and Alex Albon rounds out the field there with a broken front wing, losing that end play on the opening lap of the Grand Prix. As we now finally get ourselves ahead of our teammate, we go down the inside at turn 4. Very late move there from ourselves, but unfortunately we just don't have the pace to be able to pull that 1 second margin that we need. We've got enough pace to be able to catch up and then get by them. We just can't pull away from them. The power of the DRS is just way too strong, as we also lose the position there to Oscar Piastri. Z follows through with the DRS, and so now we're down to P9 once again, and now under attack from Sergio Perez, as he now looks to my outside. Is he going to be able to hang it around there? No, he can't. He's on the soft compound tyres, but surely by now they are starting to feel a bit secondhand. We're on the mediums, and you can see there, Piastri and Ricciardo also went side by side through there. I lost so much time, but am I able to try and get both of my fellow Australians? I go down the inside, and we do get the move done on both Ricciardo and Piastri to get ourselves now back up into P7. Behind us, Perez is still battling it out with Valtteri Bottas. Is Perez about to drop outside the points? He will. He'll lose out to Bottas. Bottas back into the points now. He'll take P10 away from Sergio Perez. For ourselves, though, we've now got our pit window. It is now open. Oscar Piastri, he'll get by us and through the center S here. Hopefully use the DRS to try and stay with Piastri here. I reckon he's definitely going to start pulling away from us, but we try and use the DRS to try and stay with him, get a fast in-lap done here, as we will be boxing this lap. We get our next objective, which is to overtake Piastri, which I think is a bit worthless, to be honest, because we're boxing this lap. And speaking of boxing, Lando Norris, he's going to be the first of the leaders to blink, and he is going to pull in from second position here to come in for a pit stop. He was on the soft compound tyre, so what is he going to go to? It looks like the team has got out a set of mediums for him, and we'll have to wait and see until he pulls out, and it is a set of mediums on Lando Norris now, so he's doing the soft to medium strategy. For ourselves, we're going to be doing the medium to the hard compound tyre, so we're going for a bit of a safer pit stop strategy here with the tyre wear. And no, it's happened again. 2 Grand Prix in a row, we've had an issue with one of the front tyres getting put back on, and we lose the position to Sergio Perez. But here comes Max Verstappen in for his stop a few laps later, and he very nearly loses it at the entry. He had everything locked up and was definitely wide, so he's lost a little bit of time in that. So let's see how strong the undercut is here. It was Norris in second position from him, and he was about 8/10 to about a second behind Max Verstappen. He comes down the main straight now with the DRS, thanks to the people in front of him who were boxing, as he comes through the center S now in his McLaren. Where is Max Verstappen? On the totem pole there, he is ahead of Verstappen, but how much is he going to be ahead? And there is Max leaving the pits, so he's made massive ground here to be able to jump Max Verstappen in the pit stop phase. For ourselves, we need to now achieve 12th position, because we have lost a lot of ground through our pit stop with that incident. Our pit stop was meant to be a 2.4 second estimated time. It was a 5 point something, so nearly double the amount that it should have been. Actually, more than double than what it should have been. But thanks to the people coming into the pits here, we do get that objective completed. So there is a little bit of a promise coming from this race weekend, and we do manage to use the DRS and the slipstream to get ourselves ahead of Stroll down the inside at turn 4, and that puts us now up into P11, but we've got over 2 seconds to find to be able to get any points here today, as Stroll immediately uses the DRS to get himself back by us, and we've now got Pierre Gasly on the mediums right behind us. And in front, though, it is Valtteri Bottas. Well, riding on board here with him, he's looking to the inside here of Esteban Ocon to try and take away P9 away from the Alpine driver, and he will get the move completed. Bottas now up into P9, and now the pit stop phases have completed. Let's take a look at the order here for the Grand Prix. Lando Norris now leads the way ahead of Max Verstappen, ahead of Fernando Alonso, and that is your provisional podium at the moment. George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Yuki Tsunoda, Sergio Perez, Oscar Piastri, Valtteri Bottas, and Ocon round out the points here in Brazil. Then it's Lance Stroll ahead of myself and our teammate Daniel Ricciardo, 12 and 13. Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton still struggling. The 2 Hasses of Hulkenberg and Zhou, then the 2 Williams of Sargent and Alex Albon, as we now head down the main straight. Once again, we've lost the DRS to Stroll, so he's been able to just pull away, and we've now lost the position to our teammate Daniel Ricciardo. So at this pace, considering we're still outside the points, we've lost even more time to the top 10. I am now in defensive mode. I am now trying to create as much of a buffer as I can to our teammate to try and block these guys from getting anywhere close to him. Unfortunately, though, our pace is just absolutely gone. I don't know what is going on. I am just struggling. There's so much here at the moment, and I'm making little mistakes here, locking up, running slightly wide, and all that does is just invite the more of the AI to catch up and try and show their nose a little bit as Piastri makes a move there on Valtteri Bottas, and that's him now up into P8, so he's doing a little bit of a recovery drive as well after losing a position or two in the pit stop phases. Stroll now pulls off to the side. Has he got an issue? Could this be a safety car that brings the field back together? But I don't see any smoke, and he doesn't seem to be pulling over. He's got a puncture, and luckily it's happened right before the pit entry, so he does have the time to be able to quickly swoop back into the pit lane, and he shouldn't lose a massive amount of time, but that is very unfortunate since he was battling for P11 there. We lose the position to Carlos Sainz, and now we'll lose the position to Pierre Gasly as he goes down the inside. We made contact and we've lost our end plate. We do send it back up the inside of him as he was a little off put from the contact, but unfortunately my pace that was already starting to struggle is just going to get so much worse now with the loss of downforce on our front wing. Bottas though, he's not looking to stay behind Oscar Piastri here for very long, as he now gets a P8 back from our fellow Australian as we now continue the battle here with Pierre Gasly. We go around the outside of him as he sent it down our inside, and we managed to hold on to P13 just for a little bit here. But I just don't know what to do. I've got no pace. I've got a broken front wing, so I'm just going to try and survive these last 5 laps the best I can, and our new objective is to avoid damaging our front wing. And as I just kind of now expected, I've lost the position to Pierre Gasly, and I am sure that I'll eventually lose the position to Lewis Hamilton, but I'm not going to go down without a fight as we use a heap of ERS, and we're going to look to the outside of Pierre Gasly, and he hits us, and we go wide at turn 4, and we'll try and get back on track, but we lose the position to Lewis Hamilton as well, so that drops us now down to P15, and we'll take a look at what happened there. There was just enough room for us to go to the outside, and what was he doing? It looked like he was kind of like swerving under the brakes going into the corner, and when he kind of swerved, it kind of pushed him out wide. What is that? What is that, Pierre? Like, come on. And now looking back from Lewis Hamilton here, yeah, a little bit of contact, and that was just enough to unsettle our car for us to go out wide, and for Hamilton to take advantage to take that P14 away from us. Oscar Piastri, he is looking to try on going onto the final lap of the Grand Prix. He looks to the outside. The door is slammed shut by Bottas, but he'll go to the inside, and he'll take away P8 or wheelie because Bottas keeps his nose in there, but Piastri will prevail, and he'll take away that P8 from Valtteri, and the battle for the podium is going on. Charles Leclerc around the outside, but Alonso up the inside. He'll maintain that 3rd position, but we'll take a look now at Lando Norris. He has been superb. He was on the superior strategy, and he will take the win here in Brazil ahead of Max Verstappen, and then Fernando Alonso 11 seconds behind. He is the best of the rest. There was no match for Lando and Max Verstappen. They were just the clear favourites to win, but the better strategy got Lando over the road ahead of Max, then Fernando, and we'll take a very lonely P15 in the end. Such a disappointing weekend. It looks so promising.
And here he comes. It's all go, go, go for Lando Norris as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
Race win, fastest lap as well, so that extra point for them today. And what a masterful performance. They really showed a clean pair of heels to the rest of the opposition out there today. They had no answer for them.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure. And no doubt, they'll be celebrating tonight.
Norris hasn't won a race in a little bit, but it's kind of funny how the first race he does win back is the exact race after Max seals the deal for the championship, so it's a little bit too late for Lando Norris. He's secured P2 in the championship at least. Fernando Alonso is definitely still in a championship fight there, so his P3 is very much worth a lot, and we'll take a look at the rest of the top 10. Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Yuki Tsunoda, Sergio Perez, Oscar Piastri, Valtteri Bottas, and Ocon round out the points. Daniel Ricciardo finds himself in P12. I'm down in P15, so very, very disappointing, and we'll take a look at the championship. So Verstappen leads the championship by 61 points heading into the final race week. weekend of the season. Norris in P2, Leclerc in P3, and myself, we dropped down to P7, 1 point behind Sergio Perez. Daniel Ricciardo's in P15, 6 points behind Pierre Gasly, and Red Bull lead the Constructors' Championship by 100 points to McLaren. Then it's Ferrari in P3. RB, we find ourselves P6, 22 points behind Mercedes. And we'll now take a look at our championship rivalry, a career-defining rivalry against Sergio Perez, and we are currently losing. We're losing. We need 174 points to win it. I don't think we're going to get that this season, but we have, on the other hand, won our rivalry against George Russell, so that is a very good, a very large sum of points coming our way. And for our personal driver ratings, experience, racecraft, pace, and focus, we've gained some points with awareness going up to level 89 for an overall of 92, and our driver recognition remains at 63% against Daniel Ricciardo. And that is going to be all for this episode. So if you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next episode, where it's a season finale of Season 2 at Abu Dhabi.